Hi everyone, it's Brenda with Stampin' Up. I wanted to do a quick little video to show you a card that I recently made for a friend. It's a very detailed card, so I'm not going to do a tutorial, but I will show you how I made it. So before we get started, here's my January hostess code. As I have said in previous video, I do not have my own website right now because it's very expensive. So just go to stampinup.com, click on Find a Demonstrator, enter my name, Brenda Fertitta, and select, and you'll be shopping with me. All right, so here is the card that I made. As you can see, it is very detailed. It is a lot of work, so if you're a beginner, this might be a little too complicated or frustrating for you. But it is really, really pretty. So if you want to try it, I'm going to show you how to make it. Okay. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the dimensions that you need. Okay. I'm going to try to lay these out so you can get a screenshot. I used Balmy Blue, a half of a sheet. So it's 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle. This is your card base. All right. You're going to need a piece of dark blue. I use Starry Sky. This is going to be part of the wave. It doesn't have to be these dimensions. It can be just as long as that wave die fits in there, okay? You're going to need, I didn't tell you this, but if you know Stampin' Up, you're going to know what I'm talking about. You have to have Waves of Inspiration bundle to make this card, okay? So you're going to need the Starry Sky or another piece of dark blue for your wave, right? You're going to need a large piece of white cardstock. And the reason it needs to be big is because we're going to be stamping this Rays of Light background stamp. And you're going to need your Stamparatus for this or any other stamping platform that you have. So I used a large piece. I just did a half of a sheet, which is 5.5 by 8.5. So let's put that here. All right. Then we're going to need a lot of white. The rest of it is all white. Now I'm out of camera here. Wait a minute. I'll be sure you can get these dimensions. All right. Whoops. I keep moving this. Okay. So you're going to need another piece of white, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 for the layering. All right. You're going to need an inside piece, 4 by 5 1/4. You're going to need 2 pieces of white to stamp the wave on. You're going to stamp 2 waves. All right, so they need to be approximately, they don't have to be this exact size, just as long as the stamp fits on it. But mine is 4 1/4 by 5 3/4. And then you're also going to need, for stamping, 2 more little pieces of white. Mine is 3 by 4 and 2 by 3 1/4. All right, so if you want to get a screenshot of those, then you'll have it for later. All right, so let me show you what we're going to do. As I said, this is going to be your card base. All right, and you're going to, this inside piece is going to go here. The layering piece is going to go here. You're just going to have a tiny little bit of blue going around the edge. Okay, so that's what these are for. This piece of white, we're going to stamp Rays of Light. So let's get the Stamparatus out and take a look at this. Okay, this is a stamping platform. If you don't have one, this is what it is. It is a platform. It comes with a little foam, and it comes with these panels that come on like this so that you stamp. And it has 2 of them. So one hooks on the top and one hooks on the side or bottom. You can turn it whatever way you want. So you can also get a deluxe mat, which is what I have. And get that. You don't have to have it, but I do have that. And you don't have to leave these on. I usually only use one at a time, but this works really well. If you're doing a card with multiple stamps, you can put your paper in there and you can stamp one stamp and then come back down and stamp the other stamp and you're done. So that's what that is for. It's very, very handy. All right, so you're only going to need one panel for this. So you're going to put your large piece of paper in here, and you're going to take the Rays of Light stamp, and you're just going to put this here, and you're going to use your magnet so that it stays. Just position it kind of in the middle, and you're going to pick it up with your, whoops, wait a minute, I have to take the mat out because the cling stamps are thick, so you don't need the mat. And the mat will make it too thick, and then it's not going to work. So just position that in the middle and turn that over and pick that up, okay? So you're just going to stamp on this, but what you're going to do is you're going to take Daffodil Delight and you're going to take Mango Medley. Now, I stamped Daffodil Delight first, all right? And then I took Mango Melody and I inked up my stamp. And then I stamped off and stamped it again. All right, so first Daffodil Delight and then Mango Melody stamped off, okay? And then that's going to give you, you know, this look. Now, after you stamp it, then you're going to take a blending brush and you're going to take Daffodil Delight and you're going to blend in the white behind there, okay? And then I took a little bit of Pumpkin Pie and I did a little bit on the middle, all right? Now, when you stamp this Rays of Light, this is going to be blank, okay? So what I did is I took Treasured Kindness, and I took the sun, and I stamped that right over the top. Now, that's so easy to do because once you get this stamped, well, first you're going to stamp that Rays of Light, and you're going to cut it down so that it is 4 by 5 1/4. So after you cut that down, you don't have to ink the whole thing. So cut it down first and then ink the edge. But you can put that back in your Stamparatus and take this and just line it up over the top of that blank spot. And then come back with your Stamparatus and pick it up. Of course, with your polymer stamps, you're going to need your mat, okay? These magnets are very strong, so when you do get this Stamparatus, make sure these don't touch each other because you're going to get two magnets and they smack together and they break. I broke mine like the first week I had it and I never did get a replacement, so I've only got one magnet. But anyway, you're going to put that in there for that. So, of course, you're not going to have your whole card. You're just going to have yours stamped, but you're going to just stamp that right over the top. And then, before you move that, clean off your stamp and put on Versamark. Or you can Versamark first and then the Daffodil Delight and stamp it once. And then you're going to put the clear embossing powder on that and heat set it. All right. Like I said, this is a lot of detail. So that's just the background, okay? So then for the wave, if I can remember all this, this is really kind of a tough one to do. So you're going to take your 2 pieces of paper for your wave while you've got the Stamparatus out. And you're going to take that wave stamp and you're going to stamp that. Now this is big. I did this bigger too so that you've got room to stick it in there and get your magnet on there. All right, you're going to stamp that. Now what I did is I took Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay, and I put Coastal Cabana, I think I did, I'm not exactly sure exactly how I did it, but I did layered them. If your stamps are very juicy, you're going to want to stamp off a little bit because you don't want it too dark because you want all of the colors to come through, and I am missing a stamp pad. I was going to show you another color. I used my Starry Sky and I thought I had it out. So the first one, you're going to do this, Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay, and Starry Sky. And I don't know where my Starry Sky went. Oh, wait, here it is. Gosh, okay, Starry Sky, all right? And you're going to layer all those, and you don't have to get the ink everywhere because you want it to look all jumbled up. See, now this, see how this all kind of blends in together? That's the look you're going to want. So after you stamp that about 3 times, you're going to take that out and you're going to put your next piece in. You're going to clean your stamp off. You're going to put it on there again. And then you're going to do Balmy Blue. And I did it again. I've lost my stamps pads. I thought I had them all out. You can tell I'm not used to doing videos. Anyway, Balmy Blue. And you can do any of these color combinations and just do it again, all right? So one of these, once you get it stamped, you're going to take your dies. And you're going to, these are very, very similar, but one of them's got 2 little fingers, one's got 3 little fingers, and they line up and they layer very nicely together. So one of these stamped images you're going to cut with one of these in your machine, and then you're going to take your Starry Sky piece of paper, and I am misplacing my, okay, here it is. Then you're going to cut one of these out of Starry Sky, and that's going to give you these 2 layers. And then your big piece, not your big piece, your other wave that you did, you're going to have 2 waves. So one's going to be cut out. The other one's going to be cut out with Starry Sky. And then you're going to have another one. And I fussy cutted this. So this background right here is, I just fussy cutted that out. Then once you get that fussy cutted out, you take all 3 layers and you have to glue them together. Now you can use the Stampin' Up! Fine Tip Glue pen if you want. That's what I did. It has a very, very fine tip. All right, it's just a tiny, tiny little tip. Now the problem with this glue is it's got this little needle. And when you're done with it, you have got to put this back on right away, because if you don't, this is going to clog up and you're not going to be able to ever use it again. So let me put this back in real quick. You do not want to leave it uncapped, because it will dry up, and my needle is not going in there. Hold on one second. My needle broke. Wait a minute. It's not going in there. All right, that is not wanting to go in there very easily. Yipes. Okay. So based on that, you might not want to get that, but any fine tip glue. And if you don't have fine tip glue, the other thing that you can do is take your glue and use a toothpick and just pick up glue with the toothpick and run it on the bottom of these. Anyway, they get layered. And then after you layer them, you take your Versamark again and you ink that all up, and you do clear embossing powder over the top of that. Okay, so once you get that done, then you're going to layer it on top of your sun rays, and you're going to glue it on there. And then you're just going to trim off the edge, because your wave is going to be way longer than that. So your wave is going to end up being this long. So you're just going to trim that off, okay? And then, of course, you're going to stamp your pelican. And I used Crumb Cake for that. All right, I got Crumb Cake. And I used the Stamparatus for this as well, because what I did is, Crumb Cake is really kind of light, and I stamped it about 3 times to get it this dark. I wanted it to look, somewhat natural. And then what I did is, I have this tiny little twine, and I wrapped it around, and I put tape on the back and just taped it on there. You can use any twine. You can actually use just regular colored twine if you want, or you can even color a regular twine with your Stampin' Blends if you wanted to do that. Okay. And then I cut it out, fussy cut it out. I do have the die, but it leaves a white edge around, and I don't like the white edge, so I cut the white edge off. And then I forgot about the stamping. So the other thing you're going to do with the stamping, so this little piece was for the pelican, but I forgot to tell you about this piece. While you have your rays of light inside your Stamparatus, you're actually going to need to stamp this as well. So you want to put a scrap piece of paper inside, and you're going to stamp that rays of light over the top of this again, just kind of like this, so that this part of it, just this part up here is getting stamped, all right? Because once you do that, then you're going to take Beauty of Friendship. Friendship refreshes the soul, and you're going to stamp that over the top of your rays of light. Of course, you have to fill it in, blend it in like we did the background. Stamp that on there, and I did use clear embossing powder on that too. And then I fussy cutted it out, and then you're going to be able to put it right on there. I did use dimensionals, and so that it will line up with your rays. And so that's how I did that. Now the inside, I used Paradise Palms. All right. Now you notice that this stamp is all one stamp. So what I did is, of course, I used the Stamparatus again. The Stamparatus comes in very handy. I put this on here, and I used my Early Espresso Stamp-Right marker. Now be sure that you're using Stamp-Right and not Stamp Blend. Stamp Blend is alcohol. You do not want to use alcohol on these red rubber stamps. So I took this and I colored the stems and I stamped that on there. You don't have to use a Stamparatus, but especially with these cling stamps, you can't see where you're stamping. Even if you've got the sticker, it's hard to line that back up. So that's why the Stamparatus really works well for this. And then after I did that, I did Granny Apple Green just on here. You can use your marker if you have a Granny Apple Green Stamp-Right. That works too. And just stamp it. And the thing about the Stamparatus, if you don't get it quite marked up the way you want, you can ink it and stamp it again. And then, of course, I stamped the background here for the little island. And then for the sentiment, it is Country Bouquet. I love that we are friends. And so that is my card. And I hope that wasn't too much for you, but it's almost too much for me. It's a lot of detail, but it's just such a pretty card. I wanted to share it before I send it. Anyway, so that is it for me today. Have a great day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.